I make no secret of my complete hatred of Priti Patel. We all have a Priti in our lives, you know, that person who holds a position of authority despite having no discernible talent and being thoroughly unlikable as a human being. I used to come across a lot of them in my student days when I was working in retail. In fact, actually politics, much like retail, are both sectors that are so easy to fail upwards in. Her latest masterstroke as Home Secretary is to approve plans to send asylum seekers to a detention facility in Rwanda for processing. All of this at a cost of $120 million to the taxpayer during a cost of living crisis, no less. There's hundreds of reasons why this is just a terrible idea, and it doesn't even require much thought. Well, for starters, it's inhumane to treat refugees from one area as pests that require detaining, while we are opening the doors to Ukrainians fleeing the war. A refugee's a refugee, so what's the difference? Well, other than the colour of their skin, of course. This project seems to have done something that no other policy has achieved. It has been widely condemned by both left and right-wing press. It's not surprising that those of us in the left of centre see it as a terrible idea, but when GB News of all institutions are being critical of it, then you know your policy is a dumpster fire. Hell, even the Archbishop of Canterbury has deemed it inhumane and unethical. Even after civil servants in their department criticised the move and voiced their concerns, and advisors stating that the plan would not achieve the stated end goal of tackling human trafficking, Patel was forced to take the rare step of using ministerial direction to push the scheme through. Now this puts full responsibility on her very, very broad shoulders. Therefore, if it goes tits up, there's zero wiggle room for her while she's still in post. Incidentally, this is the first time that ministerial direction has been used in 30 years. Now, although not completely institutionally corrupt, Rwanda is still far from a beacon of human rights. So I'd like to question how much of the funding for this project will actually make it to running the facility and not into the pockets of government officials. Now, wouldn't it be more sensible to set up a facility here in the UK, actually taking responsibility for the project ourselves? I do realise the complete irony in asking for this government to take responsibility for anything, right enough, but at least we'd see some benefits domestically and be able to ensure the facility is run humanely, and also create a couple of jobs in the process. And finally, we already know that processing asylum seekers offshore is a terrible investment, and has been shown not to work by examples set by other nations. For example, the Australians have been doing this for 20 years, and in 2020-2021 they spent a ball-aching $460 million on offshore facilities that have been widely criticised for their conditions. And what did that huge sum of money equate to? Well, they only processed 4,558 refugees. That means each refugee cost the Australian government £100,000. Now, I am no economist, but I reckon that setting up a refugee in a single bedroom flat and giving them benefits to get them on their feet isn't going to cost even a quarter of that. Also, in doing so, you've got the added benefit of someone who can later repay that cost in taxes once they find work and become a contributing member of society. Make no mistake about it, this is not about tackling human trafficking. If this was such a big problem, then we would be carrying out checks on EU imports that were coming into the UK. That right there is open season for human traffickers. Yet, we're not bothering our arse. This is all about playing to the "get out of our country" knuckle-dragging racists / UKippers that are such vocal Tory supporters. I definitely see this being U-turned on sharpish. But if I'm wrong and it isn't, then expect it to be a complete disaster and a black eye for the UK standing internationally. Give it a couple of years and we'll see human rights abuse reports coming from this facility, and of course by that time Priti Patel will be long gone from office anyway and unable to face the consequences. This woman is just the worst. She makes Hannibal Lecter seem sane and full of empathy. And what's more shocking is that she's the child of immigrants who owe their wealth and well-being to being accepted as part of the UK. How she was raised to have zero respect, compassion or empathy for those with similar backgrounds is top-level shitty parenting, if you ask me. So anyway, I've ranted long enough about my hatred for Priti for one day. So until next time, subscribe and leave your comments, insults or Priti Patel jokes. Cheers, and I'll see you next time.